So, hi everyone. Were any of you here for either last week's lesson or the week before? Yes, no?
I was.
You guys can speak. You can turn on your mics and speak. I'm asking you guys a question.
Same.
Do you know what we're doing today?
Essay? Because
Okay.
we did math yesterday.
So today we're going to be going over the ISEE Essay exam, which is part of the exam, specifically for the upper level. Now, I'm going to introduce myself a little bit. My name is Kai. I just finished finished high school at the Dwight School, which is a private school on the Upper West Side. And I, like you guys, have taken the ISEE exam at both the lower level and the upper level. So I am here today to help you guys out with some tips and tricks. And in the fall, I will be attending UPenn, or the University of Pennsylvania, which is an Ivy League school. So I'm here to give you guys my expertise. And today we're going to be working on the essay, which is my favorite part of the exam. Why? Because I think you have the most leeway with the essay as a student. So let me, first of all, do you guys have any questions? Any questions about me, about the ISEE, about my experience with the exam?
Wait, how much time do we get?
No? Yes? Okay, so here's the thing about me. I like to ask questions and I also like to receive answers. So when I ask a question, you guys feel free to turn on your mics and answer the question, because today is not just going to be a lecture like the last times. I'm going to ask you guys to do stuff and I want to see what you're working on too. So it's not going to be like last time. So I will ask that if you can, you get a pencil or a piece of paper and a pencil, or if you want rather type, you can use your computer to type as well. But you guys are going to be doing a little bit of work with me. So no questions?
No.
No? Yes? Okay. Okay. So today I want to focus, we're going to focus on two prompts actually, but for right now, I want to start off with this one. But before we get started with that, I want to introduce what the exam, is entailed, is what's in the exam. So for this essay exam, you have 30 minutes to respond to a prompt given by the ISEE. Usually they don't ask you for an argumentative essay where you require data and facts. It's mostly personal. And this essay is actually not graded, but it is sent to the schools that you're applying to, and it gives them a better sense of who you are as an applicant. And it's again, they want to see that you can communicate your ideas, that you know how to express yourself, and also that that you are a good speller, a good writer, that those skills are all necessary in determining whether you are a good fit for whatever school you're applying to. So it's really important part of the exam. Hi, Francis.
Guys, I just wanted to check in to make sure we're good.
I can't hear you.
Oops, sorry. Oh, do you hear me now or not?
I do.
Good. I just want to make sure everything is going smoothly and we have a nice group. Perfect. Okay, I think we're all set. We're good with the group. So I'm looking forward. Okay, if you need anything, please just text me, and I'm really glad that you guys are here. And I just want to remind you, this is not just essay writing for the IC. This is really essay writing for life. So just remember that you're going to be learning hopefully some good life skills with essay writing too. All right. Excellent. Thank you, Kai. Thank you so much for doing this. All right. Okay. Take care, guys.
Hi. So these skills are really applicable to pretty much any exam that you will take, as Francis said. So although we have the logo or the name of the ISEE as like guiding this, it's really applicable to the SATs, ACTs, any exam that you will take. So you have 30 minutes for this exam, for this section of the exam, to plan and write an organized essay. And what's really important about this is that you don't have a lot of time. You're not going to be able to, like thoroughly plan out your essay. So you have to have an idea prior to the exam of how you want to organize your ideas, which is what we're doing right now. So the first prompt that we have, can someone read the prompt for me here? I'm going to call in someone. We have Anya. Can you please read the prompt?
Schools offer many extracurricular opportunities. Describe one extracurricular opportunity that you would like to pursue.
Okay. So my suggestion is you're going to go with a traditional 5-paragraph essay format. Now, the issue with that is that you may not have enough time. So if the 5 paragraphs does not work, then you can easily make that 4 paragraphs, 2 bodies, 1 intro and a conclusion. What needs to be there, you absolutely must have an introduction and conclusion. That is non-negotiable. They want to see that you can at least finish your ideas, start them off, and then consolidate them down to a solid conclusion. So you must have an intro and a conclusion. And also the traditional 5-paragraph idea just sort of keeps you organized. So we're going to start with that. So you're going to have an intro, body 1, body 2, now this is what I would do for planning. You have about 5 minutes to plan. So I'm going to write that down. And you absolutely cannot skip over the planning step. That is absolutely necessary. Planning is what allows you to organize your thoughts. It keeps you in check. It gives you a template to look at as you're writing that essay. It is extremely important. All good writers must have a template or at least, some way to organize themselves. And you have to do it in order to, write quickly and write well. So in your introduction, what I think works best is always when you start off with a little anecdote. And what do I mean by that? When you have an anecdote, it's sort of like a little quick story about something that, of course, must be appropriate to the prompt. It grabs the reader's attention. Or perhaps a vivid description of something that, of course, falls in line with a prompt. So you're going to need so in the case of this prompt, maybe I would write about my experience with one club that I did in high school. In high school, I was a part of the debate team. So I could say, or better yet, I was also in the choir. So what I would do is I would maybe say, being a member of my choir, blah, 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 and elaborate on that experience for maybe 1 to 2 sentences. You maybe saying was a large part, played a large role and you played a large role in forming my identity. And then you could say, maybe elaborate on what that was. And then after you have a little attention grabber, of course, this is rather, I think you could either this, so you could give like, talk about what one thing that you did. You could maybe even give a vivid description like we said above, which could be something like, you like put your reader into the scene of something that relates to the prompt, or like say, like maybe say you have an example of a club that you did, like I said debating before, so we can do debating. Maybe write as if you were there. So maybe you could say, I vividly recall my first day on the team. And then like you could go into how it felt, what you did. You need to put the reader into the scene that you're trying to create, utilizing vivid imagery. So feelings, sights, smells, things of that nature. You want to appeal to their senses. So you can do something like either this or this. I would stay away from using quotes just because they want to see your creativity. And if you're utilizing the words of another writer, it just doesn't come across as strong. However, if that quote maybe is something that you say in your family, like a saying that, you know, resonates with you, that's a little different. But saying that, like, I remember this quote from Benjamin Franklin or something like that, it doesn't really appeal to the reader as well. They want to see something that's really personal to you. And that quote clearly is not personal to you. So they want something of that nature. Okay, and after you have your attention grabber, your hook, you need to make sure that you have a thesis. Sorry. Your thesis is sort of like a roadmap. And I think the traditional way of writing a thesis is something that you guys should stay away from. And here's why. So a thesis, whoa, sorry, my books fell. What someone would write for a thesis is, I would like, so in the case of this essay, a typical thesis would be, I would like to pursue whatever activity, you know, because, and then they would have 3 reasons. And this is okay, but it's not really sophisticated as a writer. I think something that would be better is, due to reason X, Y, and Z, or these 3 reasons, I believe that whatever activity, you know, would be due to reason. Actually, just highlight that in red because I don't think that is the best way to write. It sounds more sophisticated when you write in this way, due to reason X, Y, and Z, you believe, something like that, as opposed to, I want to do this because this, this, and this. I want to join a choir because 1, singing is interesting, 2, I like being around other people, and 3, whatever. That's very boring. Something like this shows that you know how to organize your ideas like a traditional thesis, but also that you're a sophisticated writer as well, which is extremely important. So there's that. Now, for your body paragraphs, you always need to start off with a topic sentence. So while we're doing this, in order to organize better, someone give me, so we have the prompt that says that they want to know about an extracurricular activity. Someone here, I'm going to call in someone. Victor, can you give me an example of an extracurricular activity that we can use to structure this essay around? Art?
Chorus.
Oh, chorus? Okay, we can do choir. Okay, so you want to pursue choir. All right, what's in the reasons? So after our thesis, we had to write 3 reasons and that you wanted to do this activity. You need 3 things because one idea corresponds to a body paragraph. So if you're running out of time and you only have 2 body paragraphs, you would give 2 reasons in your thesis, you know, for why you want to do something. But in this case, why you'd want to pursue a particular activity. So someone give me an example of, I guess, here. Let's do, Luke, give me an example of why someone might want to join a choir, and we can use that as the first body.
Maybe they have an interest in singing.
Okay, because they want to further their studies in music.
They could also add a little sensory detail, like how it feels.
So they like how music makes them feel. They like the emotional connection that, okay.
Something like, I can't think. But yeah, maybe a sensory detail.
Okay, so sensory detail. They want to join a choir because they like the feeling that music gives them. Okay, we can do something like that. Maybe that music is emotionally fulfilling.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the first reason. So you would put this in one of your reasons for in your thesis. But we're gonna do it here for right now. So when you're doing your topic sentences, you want to make sure that your ideas connect to the paragraph from before. So if you're ending off with the idea that, okay, due to reason X, Y, and Z, I believe that a choir would be something that I would be eager to pursue in the near future, whatever, and then music is emotionally fulfilling will be one of those reasons. So now you need to take that and maybe delve into it deeper in your topic sentence, and by maybe bouncing off of something that you said before. So you could say something along the lines of, music is universal in that and ear to sing because it would to express myself in a unique manner. Okay. So when you're doing your topic sentences, I know a lot of times someone might say, firstly, I want to do this because, or firstly, I want to pursue music, and then you would say because it's emotionally fulfilling. But that's kind of bland as a writer. You want to show that you are sophisticated as a writer, that you know how to write well. And while yes, saying I want to join choir because blah, 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 works, it's not the best way to express yourself. You want to start off maybe with an idea about whatever you're talking about. So here we're talking about music, we're talking about choir. So what I think is interesting about music is that it allows people to communicate beyond language. You're able to express your opinions, your emotions, your feelings without having to have a conversation with someone. And then after you make some sort of statement, you would then go into, and then connect it to your thesis. So then beyond that statement, I would then say, and which the part that connects the thesis is, and I'm eager to sing because it would enable me to express myself in a unique manner, or to join a choir, sorry. Okay. So after you have your topic sentence, you now need to think of 2 to 3 reasons or 2 to 3 examples of how music is emotionally fulfilling to you, or whatever the topic may be. So you need to delve deeper into that idea. So music these would be examples. I think 2 to 3 examples is good. Start with 2, and then if you have any more, if you know that you can write well about another idea, you can add it, but just make sure that you're consistent throughout all of your body paragraphs. So if you have 2 reasons in one, you need to have 2 reasons in all of the rest of the body paragraphs. If you have 3 reasons, you need to have 3 reasons for all of them. That shows that you're able to organize yourself. So I guess one example could be, maybe you could talk about a rough time. So in this case, like music helps you emotionally. Maybe you had a heart. You could just write a little example in this essay, because it's not necessarily a factual essay. They're trying to get to know you. It's not a. Can I scroll up? Sure. Madeline, what do you want to see?
I'd just like to see the description and the anecdote. I just want to take a screenshot of that.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. So, your example may be a story, again, like above, in this type of essay, because they're not asking you, this style of essay is more personal. Now, if they were asking you to prove a point like that required data and statistics, you can't really use your emotions to support the fact, because that wouldn't count as evidence. You need data, you need, legitimate facts to support your evidence. But this is not that kind of essay. This is a personal essay. And you can use your personal experiences. So maybe you have a personal experience. Sorry. How music benefited you emotionally. Sorry, another question. Oh, sorry, Sarah J. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. The essay is actually handwritten, but just because we're online, it's really hard to handwrite and then show you guys what I'm doing. So we're going to be doing it online just for today. But when you guys are taking the exam, it will actually be, handwritten. Okay. And another way to add another example may be appealing to the future. So because this essay is asking you about why you want to pursue something, maybe you could say how it would benefit you emotionally in the future, maybe regarding like the stress of high school, or how high school is a different challenge and that music can help you deal with that. So you want to, I guess, utilizing time as a way to, as a form of an example is also beneficial. So you could say, talk about and when you're doing this, because the ISEE is an upper level exam, it's an exam to enter into high school. High school is like the best example to talk about when you can. They want to see you envisioning your future as a high schooler wherever you are. So talking about future scenarios, talking about a potential future scenario in high school is also beneficial. So those are two solid examples. Now, when you are here, actually, no, we'll get into that later. But between these two ideas, you need a good transition word or phrase to connect your ideas. This is extremely important, and we're going to get into this a little bit later after we organize ourselves. Sorry. So someone asked me personally, can you use an anecdote to support your reasoning? Edward, it depends on the question that they're asking you. So if the essay is a persuasive essay where you have to prove a point, and this point is academic, it's about something that you need data and statistics for, then your own personal experiences wouldn't work. But in this style of essay, it would work because they're asking about you. They want to know about you. So you can use your own personal examples in this case. And I think the ISE is pretty much the essays are pretty much in this way. So I think for the most part, you can use your own anecdotes as evidence. But just really pay attention to the question and what they're asking. But yeah, so your personal anecdotes, could be count as examples. But going back to what we were saying before, a transition word is pivotal to proving your argument. It's really important because transition words show that you know how to organize yourself as a writer. And it's kind of funny. I recall when I entered into 10th grade, a lot of kids did not know about transition words. They did not know that they needed to use transition words. And the teacher, every time he saw that you need to use a transition word and you didn't, he would take points off of your essay. Those transition words elevate your writing. They make it look more sophisticated, and they also help the reader better understand your thought process, better understand how you write. So we're going to get into a few examples of those shortly, but I want to first just finish outlining. Okay, so you have your basic examples, and you can add another one if you have time. So if you have time to do so for 3 bodies. Because you can add a third, but only if you have time to do so, because another part of organization is consistency. And what I mean by that is that you have, whatever you do in one part, you need to make sure that you keep that same format again. If you're not consistent in the amount of examples that you give, it sort of is a little confusing for the reader. They want to see how you think, and if your thinking is 2 ideas to 1 idea to 3 ideas, it's a little bit too much back and forth. You need to stay consistent in how many examples that you give in your essay. So if you're going to do a third example, know that you have to do a third example for all of your body paragraphs. So just to be wary of time, start with 2, and if you are ahead of the time, you can do 3. And then you would have a concluding sentence. Okay. Now, for a concluding sentence, you want one that summarizes your ideas in this paragraph, but does not completely summarize the entire essay. You want the reader to, want to keep on reading. And by making a concluding sentence that sounds too much like a conclusion, they're going to say, okay, well, I'm done. You want to make sure that they are on their toes, ready to read the next part of your essay. So for a good concluding sentence, you could use a transition word to start, maybe something along the lines of therefore, which summarize your ideas. Or what are you talk about something that closes up the idea, but also connects to what you were saying. maybe even broadens it a little bit. So you could talk about and how that can connect to the next idea. So for another example, for your second example, it could be a new opportunity to make friends, right? Okay, that could be your second body paragraph's focus. And in order to connect, you want to be able to connect those ideas to keep the essay flowing. So your concluding sentence should conclude your ideas, but also maybe give way for the next idea that you're going to talk about. So you could say, joining choir I believe okay. So you could say that I believe that joining choir would not only be beneficial for bettering myself emotionally, but also would enable me to connect with others, on an emotional level as well, or others as well. Something along those lines that connects the two ideas, but also sort of summarizes and you would have like a transition word at the end of that before the concluding sentence to summarize your ideas. So you want to, in a concluding sentence, you want to mention what you're talking about in this paragraph and find a little way to connect to what you're talking about next. And so for your next body paragraph, and you would do the same thing for the next body paragraph and so on and so forth. So really, this is applicable. This format is applicable to all three body paragraphs. Okay, so, and you would do this for all three. And then I guess for the third one, you have music is emotionally fulfilling, a new opportunity to make new friends, and also 3 to strengthen your sight reading, which is a musical term, sight reading and music.
Kai,
Skill.
is it okay to only have 2 body paragraphs? And then
It's
like
okay
be
if
more
you're running out of
detailed?
time. It's okay if you're running out of time. If you can, 3 paragraphs, it just gives you a starting, middle, and end, which is kind of, it shows growth in your writing. If you can only do 2, that's okay. But try to aim for 3. I know you have run out of time. You can run out of time really quickly, which is why having a planned format ahead of time will really make it easy. Will make it much easier for you to write through.
I mean like having like 2 body paragraphs. So like having an introduction paragraph, then body 1, body 2, and then a conclusion.
I understand what you're saying. You know, 3 body paragraphs is ideal, but if you only have time to do 2, that's okay. Just try and aim for 3, and if you can't, don't force it.
Okay.
If you feel that, don't, because if you write a third paragraph and it's poorly written, that won't reflect well on you. So you do want to make sure that if you're going to write that third paragraph, that you have enough time to flesh it out and write it well. If you can't do that, if you don't have time to do that, then don't do it. But ideally, you'd write 3, okay?
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So I guess this is like the format for the 3 bodies, so that you would essentially repeat this 3 times. if you have time to do so. If not, you do it twice. But one body paragraph is not enough. You need to have several reasons. I'm sorry, I'm gonna just highlight that so you can know that it's okay. Now, for your conclusion, another thing that, oops, sorry. How much time is spent for each paragraph? Well, I'm gonna be honest. Someone asked me how much time you should spend for each paragraph. There is no right or wrong answer for that. Some people like to write heavier introduction and conclusion paragraphs and spend some people and spend less time on their bodies. Other people like to spend more time on their bodies and write quick and fast introduction and conclusions. I would make sure that if you're you have 25 minutes because you spend 5 minutes, you have 5 minutes planning, and then you have 25 minutes to write 5 bodies. So I guess 5 minutes per paragraph would be ideal. But I think if you I honestly prefer to have a shorter introduction and conclusion, and then a shorter introduction and a heavier bodies, and then a well thought out conclusion. So I would say maybe 2 to 3 minutes for your introduction, 5 minutes for the bodies, 5 to 6 minutes for the bodies, and then 4 to 5 minutes for your conclusion. But again, don't force if you know how you like to write and you know that you take a little more time in one section, you can do that, but just be careful and make sure that you compensate and you take less time in another. You have to keep yourself on time. You have to watch the clock. The clock is always there, and it's always they are obligated to have a clock there while you're testing. Or you can bring a silent watch, which I would always advise. I have a testing watch, and I keep track of myself to know how much time I like to spend on specific sections. So just make sure that you're not, 20 minutes in, you're only on your body, your first or second body. You want to make sure that you are pacing yourself as well. So I hope that answers that question. But now, into your conclusion. Now, most people would always start their conclusion with, in conclusion. That is so overdone. People do that way too much. You want to make sure that your conclusion connects all of your ideas, but also connects them and ends them on a positive note. And you want your reader to want to read your conclusion, because that's the most important part of it. It's arguably one of the most important parts of your essay. If you start off with in conclusion, it sort of makes you seem like a less sophisticated writer, because so many people utilize that as a way to start off a conclusion. You want to differentiate yourself as a writer. Differentiating yourself is extremely important, because if the people who are grading your tests are like, oh my gosh, this is the 20th time I've seen someone write in conclusion, after a while, they're just going to say, I don't want to see it anymore. And they may get bored and they may just give you a lower mark because they've seen it so many times. You want to make sure that you differentiate yourself, that you show that you know how to write, in an elevated way that's different from your peers. So rather than starting off with in conclusion, you want something that maybe ties into what you're talking about from the beginning. So beginning, you talked about, sorry, I guess we can make this choir. So the focus will be choir. But talk about a vivid, like a moment, so you started off with a vivid moment in choir. You can end it off with talking about that. So actually no. you could maybe say, start off with, again, choir. Restate, you could start off with restating your thesis. And by restating your thesis, I don't want you to use the same word, the same structure, and then write, like synonyms of the words that you used before. You can mention your same ideas in a different way. Pursuing, so you say, I envision myself as, and you could elaborate. You envision yourself doing this or whatever. You don't want to say due to this, I believe that. You don't want to use the same format. So let me write that down. Restate your thesis in a similar ideas, different format. So it could start off with something along the lines of, you envision yourself pursuing choir in the future as the benefits of then your 3 reasons will have some some benefit, will enable me to blank, and you would fill that in with whatever fits the prompt.
Kai, do you have to restate your reasons in the last paragraph, or can you just kind of like summarize it without being so specific?
Okay, so here's the thing. When you're restating, I don't want you to say the exact same things that you've said before. And you can even blend them together in different ways. So, for example, our 3 examples are emotionally fulfilling, a new opportunity to make friends, and strengthening reading music skills. So you could say, because benefits of growing emotionally, socially, and technically as a musician will do X, whatever, these are ideas. So we summarized our ideas in a very different way than what we did before. So here we talked about how music is emotionally fulfilling. So I said growth emotionally. That's like emotional. So in that way, socially is making new friends, and then technically is improving your technical musical skills. So when you're summarizing or when you're rewriting your thesis, you can use a different format, and you don't have to be extremely specific by rewriting your 3 main points. Again, this ties back into our idea of being sophisticated writers. A sophisticated writer would not rewrite what he wrote verbatim or for word. You want to make sure that you can restate your ideas in a different way, and a way that doesn't bore the reader. So restating your ideas in such a basic way would bore the reader. Again, shortening it to something like this keeps the reader interested and summarizes your ideas in the way they should be summarized. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So do you think like the essay readers would be like they wouldn't be as impressed if you didn't restate your reason?
They would. I mean, again, so when you're writing an essay, you have to be organized. If you don't restate your thesis, it's really hard to draw a conclusion or know what you're trying to summarize, know the big picture of what you're trying to say. You absolutely do need to restate your thesis, but you should restate it in a sophisticated way that doesn't bore the reader. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. And then so on and so forth. So these three, I'm gonna highlight these because these are our sort of three points. And I'm gonna highlight them in our essay from above because those are sort of, these are the points that we're making, and we summarize them in this way in the conclusion. So next, you want to draw, now after that, you want to sorry, 1 second, someone told me something. Okay, so now after you restate your thesis, you want to make sure that you connect to the bigger picture. So while you were really focused and streamlined on choir, you can ultimately broaden this idea to joining clubs as a whole, or joining an extracurricular activity as a whole. Or perhaps you could stay focused in, actually no, you did that. You brought in it to your future as a musician. But now what you want to do is, again, broaden it even more. So you want to talk about, connect it to a larger idea. So or you could say something along the lines of ultimately, okay. So we now have closed off with, oh, sorry. So Madeline is asked, what transition word do I suggest instead of in conclusion? You don't need to use a transition word when you're starting off your conclusion. What you do need to do is just restate your thesis. So you could say, perhaps one thing that I could say, actually no, we'll say we did that already at the bottom. I think just restating your thesis is more impactful as opposed to saying in conclusion. That's because that's so overdone. I think just doing this, starting off with I in this way, is better than using in conclusion because it's so overdone. You don't really need an alternate, something else. That's just a filler word. It's used to fill up word count. Although if you want to write something like that, if you really believe that writing in conclusion helps you summarize your ideas, instead of using in conclusion, which is kind of basic, you could say in summation, which means the same thing, but it's not something that they've probably heard before. It's more sophisticated. So if you are interested in using that word, or you want something to summarize your ideas better, in summation might be the word for you. The words for you. It sort of summarizes your ideas, but without being as basic as saying in conclusion. So I guess if you feel comfortable using, if you like using in conclusion, maybe you could substitute it for this. Okay, but back to your conclusion. After you restate your thesis, but in a different format, you need to connect to a larger idea. And so this sentence, I feel, talks about the main idea. So you can say ultimately joining choir, which is the main focus of this essay. And then you broaden it by saying, and extracurricular activities at large have this benefit of broadening one's perception of society through new experiences. So I think that that's a great way to close off your ideas in this essay. So I think this is the basic structure of how I would organize myself when I'm in writing this essay. But now that we're done with this part, writing the essay is so much more than the basic structure. So another large part of what essay readers pay very close attention to is your vocabulary. So I'm gonna go through a list of words with you guys that you shouldn't use in your essay, but I'm also going to give you guys words that you can use as to substitute those words. They want to see that you have a large vocabulary. That shows that you are a good student. That shows that you can express yourself in a sophisticated way. Again, you want to show that you are a sophisticated writer. And what better way to do that with utilizing academic writing and strong vocabulary. So let's get into it. The first word that I think you guys should not use, or that is extremely overused in essay writing, especially for kids your age, is very. So number one. Very is an overstatement. So for example, we have an idea, you could say, she is very happy. I think saying that she is happy is enough already. It's a powerful word already. So you don't need to add that extra emphasis unless it's necessary. So a word instead of that is genuinely. Undoubtedly. And I think these two are the best. So she is genuinely happy. It shows that when someone is genuinely something, that means that they are truly that way. She is truly happy. And then undoubtedly happy. She is without a doubt happy. I think that using words like this as opposed to very just gives your writing more, it gives it more sophistication. So number two. The next word I think you guys need to be careful of using is thing. Like this thing is super great, or this thing is awesome, or this thing. The word thing is extremely vague, meaning that it's not specific enough to your writing. You never want to use a word that's a filler, that doesn't add anything to your writing. If it's not specific to what you're trying to say, it should not be used. And the word thing is also not an academic word. Again, you're trying to show you're a sophisticated writer, and in order to be a sophisticated writer, you need to write in an academic register or in a formal manner. And the word thing is not formal. You don't hear Obama using the word thing or in his speeches. So, or other figures that are, that are known for, that a lot of people that give speeches, people who write, when you're reading books, people don't really use the word thing unless it's extremely necessary. In most cases, it's not. So most likely, just discuss So in the case, so if someone says that thing is really cool and really what they're talking about is that book, you say that book is really cool instead. So the subject that you're trying to refer to. The next word is always. Okay, because the issue with always is that a lot of times you never know when a person is always doing something. Like the word always is very strong because you're assuming that someone is doing something all the time, and that's not always the case. Also, it's just not a very formal word. So rather than that, you could say usually. Yeah. Words like this don't have that sort of strong, it's not as strong. And you don't want to go to extremes when you're writing. So saying that someone is always doing something is kind of it's not really sophisticated. So we're going to stay away from it. The next word is really. The word really is just, the issue with really is that it's overused and it's not a sophisticated way to express yourself. So as opposed to saying that you're really interested in something or you're really tired, you could say that you are or, hold on. Or better yet, you could use, like if you're using it in that way, if you're using something to say that you are extremely something, you would use extremely as a substitute. But if you're using really as in something actually looks that way, or something is actually the way that it is, then you could use it, you could honestly be better just to say undoubtedly like above, actually, or truly. And then similar to always, the word never is not a sophisticated way to, so if you're going to say never, you would substitute the word never for rarely. Because again, you never want to go, you don't, again, see never. You don't want to go to great extremes when you're writing academically. It's sort of just, it's overemphasizing things that don't need to be emphasized. So, and also you don't really know if someone never does something. You only know someone from what they've seen, from what you've seen of them. So rarely is a better way of writing. Okay, someone asked me if you can use the word stuff. And the answer is no. That was actually one of the next words on my list. The reason why you should not use the word stuff in your writing is the same reason why you should not use the word thing. We'll actually add it here. Stuff is not specific. Stuff is what we call a filler word. A filler word is a word that doesn't have much meaning, but it wastes space. So, and rather than saying stuff, just discuss what the subject is. Just discuss the subject directly. So in the case of, say, I have a lot of stuff. If you're looking at your room, you can say, I have a lot of clothes. I have an excessive amount of blankets. Saying stuff is not sophisticated way of expressing yourself. Also, feel free to ask me if you have any ideas of words that maybe you don't know if you should use or not. So you can definitely keep it coming with asking me if you should use a word or not. The next word on this list of mine is a lot. Here's the issue with a lot. It refers to a quantity of something, but it's not specific enough in what that quantity is. It doesn't tell the reader exactly how much or how much something is or how much, whatever, how much the quantity is. So you want to be specific when you write. Specificity is everything. It gives the reader clarity. It makes your writing easier to understand. So, and also the idea of something being a lot is subjective, which means that what I consider a lot may not be a lot to you. So for example, if I say that eating 2 bags of chips is a lot, it may not be a lot for you. So the idea of a lot is not specific enough in your writing. So if you could say, instead of saying I ate a lot of ice cream, you could say I ate 2 portions of. You want to be just substitute for being specific with the quantity. So you ate a lot of ice cream? No. I ate 2 bowls of ice cream. I ate 2 sundaes. You want to be specific with what you're quantifying. Okay. The next one that we're going to do is good. Not Google, good. Okay. Good is not a description, it's not an adequate description of something. So and also like the word a lot, good is rather subjective, meaning that what you think is good may not be good to someone else. You need to use a word that is specific. So you could say here, substitute. Substitute for satisfactory or adequate. Oh, I have 2 questions. Sorry, honestly, it's better, guys, if you just say your questions out loud, because it's when I'm typing, it's not always easy to see what you guys are saying. So, okay. So someone said, yes, you guys will get this document when we're done, so don't worry about it. And then someone asked me if you can use the word happy. I think that there's a better way of saying that you're happy. You could say that I was gleeful, something made me feel wondrous. It made me, happy is very basic. It's not a sophisticated way of describing yourself. So there's better synonyms to the word happy, like I was full of glee, I was full of joy, something, or you could describe how it made you, like, so if rather than saying I'm happy, you could say seeing this site made me feel, full of joy, as opposed to just like, that it's not specific enough, in the same way that most of these words are not specific. Okay, so good. We'd substitute that for satisfactory, or oops, 1 second, I have my list, or pleasing. Okay. And the next word is nice. Nice is really vague. It's just like someone was nice. It's just overused. And you can describe how they were being nice to you, or how they're being kind to you. Were they generous? Is that how you saw they were nice? Were they being amenable or friendly? You could better specify what nice means to you. So, I guess. and then etc. And the list goes on. We have a few more words, so stick with me, guys. Did we say thing already? Yeah, we did say thing. Did we say really? Yes, we did. Okay. Anything. The word anything. Here's the thing about anything. The word anything could literally mean anything. It's too vague. So when you're writing, again, specifics are everything. Whenever you're writing, you need to be specific, specific, specific. If there's one thing I want you to know from today, actually two, writing, you need to write in a sophisticated way, and you need to be specific. So if you're saying, I didn't know anything, you need to be specific about what you don't know. So specify what anything is. Like if you don't know something, specify what you don't know. If you if I don't feel anything, what can't you feel? You know, be careful with using the word anything. It's super vague. We never want to be vague in our writing or unclear. Because if you're vague, the reader can't understand what you're writing, and then it makes it harder for them to understand, and ultimately will not give you the grade that you want. Madeline, do you want to ask me something?
No.
Okay. Is everyone good? You guys have any more words you want to ask me about? No? Okay, well then we'll keep going. Okay. The word so is similar to the word very. So I'm gonna put so up here too. It's like someone, like you could say, today I was so happy. Again, not very clear. You have to be specific about what made you happy. And again, the word happy is not very clear either. So maybe let's start off with a better word. Today I was so tired. What made you tired? How did you get to that point? You need to be specific, and you need to clarify yourself. So if whenever you're writing, you have to ask yourself the question of, can the reader understand what I'm saying? If someone who didn't know me was reading this paper, could they understand what I was talking about? So the word saying, I'm so sorry, I'm so tired. No, you have to be specific. Say what you're sorry about. Say what you're tired about. Specify. Okay, the next word that we're going to be going over is many. So many is similar to, and I think this actually is the last on my list, but we'll check again. When you say many, hold on. Again, the word many is subjective. We don't know what many means to you. If I said that I ate many slices of pizza, you may think that 2 slices of pizza is many, and someone may think that eating 20 slices of pizza is many. So being as specific as possible is really important. I ate 2 slices of pizza. Specify the quantity of what you're trying to talk about. Okay, I think that's it for the list of words. So these are words that you should be careful about when you're using in writing. You want to make sure that you are specific. So here, let me just write this down. that you aren't using any filler words. Filler words are words that, again, are not specific. And also, lastly, make sure that the words that you use show the best of your vocabulary, show that you have a strong vocabulary. So you want to use formal vocabulary that best exemplify. Sorry, you're okay. Now, after vocabulary and structure, the last really important thing that you must have in your essay, and we actually touched on it before, are transition words. Someone here, I'm going to call in someone. Gigi, can you tell me why you think that transition words are important to an essay? If not Gigi, then I will call in someone else. Gigi, can you tell me why? No? Okay. Let's see. Zachary, can you tell me why transition words are important when it comes to writing an essay?
You said it was because it shows that like you're a good writer and like it helps organize the essay.
Exactly. Organization. Spot on. When you use transition words, it helps you organize your ideas. It makes it not only clearer for the reader, but also for yourself as you're writing. Sometimes it's really easy to get lost in what you're saying. So you could go on a tangent, what we call a tangent, where you're not really thinking about what you're saying. You're just writing and writing and writing and writing. Using transition words makes you stop and say, am I concluding an idea here? Do I want to add another point here? It makes you think about what you're writing and how you're writing, which clarifies things for you and also for the reader. So it's extremely important. So, and it's funny, I actually made this list of transition words I use them not only for the ISEE, but also for the ACT. So let's get into it. The first word that I'm sure you know about is therefore. Oops. Okay, cool. Let me first explain it. These Okay, just to clarify why we use transition words. So the first word that I think you all know, but is important nonetheless. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. Gigi said that she wasn't able to mute. It's all right, Gigi. It's all good. Just keep up with us. The next word is, the first word that we're going to use is therefore. And therefore is used to summarize your ideas. It's good for when you're trying to, as a closing, as to express, to close off your argument. So, for example, you could say, as a result of all these things, wait, no. So you have these reasons, 3 reasons, X, Y, and Z, and you can say, therefore, I can now do whatever. Therefore, you can, it just allows you to summarize and close off your ideas. So that's extremely important to use during the closing of or like after you make a point, it's good to summarize it with the words that word therefore. An example of this could be Kai. I'm gonna use my name. You know, actually no, I won't use my name. I will use Anya's name. So we'll say Anya bakes great cookies, and therefore I ask them all the time. Okay. So therefore summarizes the idea of, again, Anya baking great cookies. So the next word that we have is nevertheless. So when you're using the word nevertheless, it's sort of like saying, it's almost like, despite this, you still do something else. It's sort of like, it's a way to, hold on one second. One second, I lost my list. It's like almost like saying in spite of something. So, example could be, I'll use Jacob as our example for this one. Jacob had a basket. Had an outdoor soccer game today, but it was raining. Nevertheless, I still came to support him. So it's like, in spite of the rain, I was still there to watch the game. So nevertheless is used when you're saying in spite of something. It's used to, if you're writing an argument, or if you're writing a counterclaim, which is like when you're saying something that someone else may think, and then you would use nevertheless and connect it to what you're saying. So it's also used when you are making counterclaims. Sorry, one second. The next word on our list is furthermore. So the purpose of furthermore is to add new or supporting information to your ideas. So in the case of our choir essay example that we were using, I could use the word furthermore. I'm going to use the word furthermore in response to that. So you could say music is a universal language. Furthermore, or adding a new idea to why music is good is because it also has the added benefit of enabling people to meet others. It lets people make new friends. Our next word is however. I just want to add these because it makes it easier to see. Okay. So the word however Bye, Luke. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, so we have however, and however expresses an opposing argument to something that you say in your essay or something that you say in general. So an example of this, you could say, and who will we use with this one? We can say, let's use Gigi. So we can say, did you put them up? Okay. Whoa. Okay. Gigi loves pizza. However, oh wait. Okay, so Gigi loves pizza. However, eating too much pizza makes her feel unwell. Or eating too much makes her feel unwell. Sorry, I said pizza twice. Using the same word too close together is called redundancy. When you use the same word too much, it just becomes kind of repetitive or redundant. So that's why I removed that pizza twice. So there is that one. The next word that we're going to use is in fact. And the purpose of this phrase is to give emphasis. Oh, I nearly forgot. Back at the top, I want to show you guys. I want you guys to remember something. When you're using transition words cannot be used in the middle of a sentence. They have to be used at the start of a new sentence, which is why you'll see with all of these examples, the transition word that we use is always going to be the starter of the next sentence. So let me just write that down. That's just a grammatical thing. So a lot of times if you write comma, however, comma, therefore, it's not grammatically correct. That causes a run-on sentence. So you have to use transition word must be the start. Okay, so in fact provides emphasis to an idea, to a claim, by giving it more detail. Okay, so an example of that could be let me think of a fact. Global warming is a serious issue. Sorry, I'm the right example. In fact, so use in fact when you're trying to add more detail. Zachary, you're kind of highlighted. Do you want to say something? Yes, no? Okay, cool. Sorry, every time that you guys speak and you're muted, it just like highlights you. So yeah, okay. Okay, the next word we're going to use is consequently. Why does it do that? Okay, consequently. Okay, and the purpose of consequently is to show cause and effect. Okay, so a perfect example of this. U.S., the world is currently experiencing the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Oh no, or better yet, many people do not in wearing masks during the COVID-19 pandemic. Consequently, the number of confirmed cases of corona. Okay, so someone asked me, can you use contractions? Like can, can't, sorry, can't, don't, won't. And to be honest, in academic writing, you will not see people using contractions. It's not formal. So if you are in writing on a standardized test or in an academic setting, you would have to say the full word out. I cannot, I will not, I do not. Hopefully that answers your questions. Sorry, okay. Now, back to the sentence, okay. Many people do not believe in wearing masks during the COVID-19 pandemic. And consequently, the number of confirmed cases of coronavirus on the rise. So that's the idea of cause and effect. The cause is that people don't believe wearing a mask, believe in wearing masks, and the effect is that confirmed cases are now increasing.
Is consequently like as a result?
Yeah, it's sort of, that's exactly right. It's quite similar. So you could say as a result as well. That's also a transition phrase. again, it shows cause and effect. So we are going to keep going. Our next phrase, oops, is in the same token. Now this one sounds kind of weird. No, sorry, in the same way. No, actually that works. By the same token. Not in the same token, by the same. Now this word here is used to show similarity. It's also alternately, you could use the words likewise or similarly. Oops, well, it's not a word. Similar. And that just shows similarity between two ideas. So what is an example? Okay, someone's leaving. Thank you so much for coming. So better yet, the cost of so it shows like similar ideas. So in this case, we're showing similarity between computer prices and software prices and how they're both increasing. So that's what they have that's similar between them. We only have a few more examples left. Actually, we only have one example left. And it's sort of in the same way that, well, here, it's similar to number 2. But number 8, we have the word granted. So the word granted is used to concede to a point. So an example of this. Hi, thank you for coming, if that's what you were saying. Couldn't quite hear you. So, granted may be challenging, but it is necessary in order to So it's like, granted, high school is challenging, but it's necessary in order for you to go to college. I think that's our last example of why we use transition words. Okay. So Does anyone have any questions for me? I mean, we have a couple more minutes. I currently am going to UPenn. I will be going to UPenn in the fall. I was deciding primarily between UPenn, Columbia, and Cornell, which are 3 Ivy League universities. So I'm taking this test. I have studied, I've been in your position. I've just graduated from high school as well. I've also taken the ISEE. So does anyone have any questions for me? You can ask me questions regarding the exam, regarding what high school was, how high school was for me, regarding testing strategies, regarding what it's been like applying to college. We have a few more minutes. Does anyone have any questions?
How many colleges did you apply for?
How many colleges did I apply to? Okay, so I applied to, I think, 18 to 19 colleges, which was a lot. But I think I'm very happy with the amount that I applied to because, because I made sure that I applied to a good amount of safety schools, which are schools that, you know, I'm likely to get into. Some schools that are target schools, schools that I may get into based on my testing and my experiences and things like that. And then also reach schools, which are pretty much all of the Ivy League schools. All Ivy League schools and schools in that caliber are reach schools regardless of your test scores, because they look at more than just your test scores and your GPA. So I applied to 18 schools so I could get a balance of things like that. Yeah. Any other questions? Anything about the ISEE, about the essay? Does anyone have any more words they'd like to go over regarding transitions? Anything?
No.
Okay. So I think we are finished for today, but I would like to say, as a practice, I'm going to give you guys another prompt to work through, to organize, and you can do this on your own time, just in preparation. So. So the next, the last thing that I want you guys to look over on your free time, if you can, in order to prepare, it's quite a simple prompt. What 3 words would you use to describe yourself, and why? This is another example of a prompt that they would give to you guys. And one thing I do want you all to note is that they tell you that they want 3 words to describe yourself. So in this case, you're going to have to use 3 body paragraphs, because they do quantify how many words you need, and each word represents an example. So I'll just a hint. Also, we were talking about timing before. Let me, so you have 5 minutes to plan. Then you want about 5 minutes per paragraph when you write your essay. Okay? So thank you everyone for coming today. I think we've gotten a lot out of this, and I'm very excited that we've been able to do this. And I wish you guys all the best of luck when you are writing your essays on the ISEE. So thank you so much everyone for coming, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.